Well, we have an interesting project here. This is a 1989 Yamaha Big Bear 350 4x4. $300 fine. So the seller stated that this was running and driving about a year ago. You can see last registered in 2024. He said he was riding it, it all of a sudden shut down, it would not start back up. He said he went through pretty much everything, but could not figure it out. So that's why he listed it for 500 bucks. I offered $3. He said, come grab it. I think we did pretty good for 300 bucks. Thing looks pretty nice. So, like newer tires in the back. I think he just put those on. It does have a winch. I don't think that works. I did try that when I was there. And it does turn over, but it sounds like it's really low compression to me. So, it'll crank all day. So turn it on, and then click the start button here. Are we not in neutral? Try this again. I tried cranking when I was there. It would not fire. So, I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'm feeling like it's low compression based on how it's turning over. But it could be something as simple as a spark plug. But I'm sure the seller checked that. So, it's a mystery. I don't know if it has spark. The seller said it did, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I thought it would be a good project and a good one to keep at the land if we can get this one figured out and fixed up. So the goal for today is to obviously get this one running and driving by the end of the video. So let's get this thing off the trailer, start looking at it, and we'll see if we can diagnose this one today. Alright, little walk around of this thing. You can see it's pretty clean. Seat cover looks newer, no rips in that. Plastics are pretty good. They're not all beat up. No cracks in the plastic. I'll show you guys the winch doesn't work. Winch does not work at all. The lights work. One of them's working. I think one's burnt out. We've got one light working. Looks like it's got a heated thumb throttle. Shifter is missing. They just have the vice grips on there to shift it. Looks like an aftermarket carb in there as well. So let's get this thing in the garage, start digging into it. Alright, we got this ATV in the garage. All we know about it is that it ran last year and that right now it turns over. Neutral light does come on, but just cranks. And it seems like it's cranking really fast for this type of engine. I'm not hearing any compression stroke coming through. So let's start by looking at the oil. Alright. Is there a dipstick on here? Yep. Looks pretty black. Let's see how much is in there. We'll put the dipstick in, bottom up the threads, and it looks like no oil is showing up on the dipstick. That's not a good sign. So I'm thinking, just based off of this at the top end, is probably junk on this thing. No oil, turns over really easily. That's not good. I'm guessing this thing was smoking a ton, and then the rings finally gave out. That's my prediction for this thing. We won't know until we start digging into it a little further. But no oil is not a great sign. Take a look underneath the seat here. Yeah, it looks like the farmer was digging into it. You can see some of the plastics are off of it. Gas tank's not bolted down. We can get that off right away. See if there's gas coming out of the gas tank. Well, the first thing we're gonna do is take a look at the air box. Check out that filter, if there is one in there. Ooh. Not the greatest looking. Looks like the air filter's split in half. Air box is a little dirty in there. Yeah, not the greatest. Alright, we'll get that out for now. Alright. Let's see if we're getting any fuel to the carb here. Oh yeah. Looks like we might be. That's not good. I was hoping it was going to be something simple. There could be water in the fuel though. Let's take a look. Not a whole lot of gas flow. Pretty weak. Let's see if the on position works better. Oh, there we go. Coming out a little better. Still pretty weak. Must not be a whole lot in there. Let's try the on position here. Nothing. Yeah, we must be pretty low on gas. But petcock does work. Alright. Any water in there? I thought for sure we were going to have water in the gas because the gas cap, look at the vent line, it's right there. So water could go right into the gas tank, but it doesn't look like it was stored outside, so. Yeah, no water in there. Gas is a little darker. So it definitely has been sitting for probably a year, I would say. Yeah, it's pretty strong smelling too. So, well, it's not the petcock. Get this gas tank off. Out of the way. Must be for the winch though. That's going up to a plug up here. I don't know what that would be for. Either the winch or that might be for the thumb heater. But yeah, as you can see, we've got the carb here, aftermarket carb. So I'm guessing that the seller put this carb on thinking it was a carb issue. And installed that, and it probably still didn't fix the issue. And that's why that carb's on there. I just want to see if there's any gas in the bowl. So we know gas is going to the carb, but is gas going into the carb? We're going to find out right now. So if this bowl is filled up, and we've got other issues going on besides the fuel, there could be like a clogged pilot too, but it looks like a brand new carb. See if there's anything in here. Open this up. Let's see. Yep. Let's see if there's any water in here. Yeah, plenty of gas in there. Looks like this carb has an accelerator pump too. Close that off for now. Let's see what that gas looks like. This looks even darker than what was in the tank here. It's pretty dark. Not seeing any water in there though. No water droplets. So that looks good. Well, the next logical thing to do would be to check the spark. So let's check our boot here first. I've had many quads and dirt bikes and ATVs that this boot wasn't contacting the wire in here and it wasn't producing spark. Let's just see if that was cut off. I'm not seeing any wire. Oh, maybe I am. There's a little bit visible, but we can cut that off. 1/4 of an inch. Doesn't hurt to try that. So just cut a little bit off of that. Expose that wire. And we can get our boot back on. And a little tip for you guys to make these boots go on easier, just put a little WD-40 and they'll slide on a lot easier instead of fighting with it. See if the plug is loose in there. No, it's tight. Well, who thinks we're gonna have spark? I have a feeling we're not going to. I have a feeling it's gonna have no spark and low compression. I feel like there's a combination of things going on. It feels like really low compression to me. Ooh, that is not good. Look at the carbon on there. Well, what the heck? That has to be a foul plug. Yeah, this thing was smoking a ton, I bet. I think that top end's gonna be toast. Look at that plug. Wow. I've never seen that much carbon in a plug before. We're gonna quick clean that up and come back. All right, that's a little better. There's no way that was sparking. Probably should have checked spark before we clean it up, but let's see if we get anything now. Put this right here. Ground that out. Here we go. Oh, we've got great spark. What the heck? Really good spark. Huh. One more time, we're gonna watch for consistency. It's sparking very consistently, so I don't think it's a spark problem. But the amount of carbon that was in there, that's not good. So I think the low compression theory might be correct. So let's get a compression tester in here and check it out. Compression tester going in. Let's see what we get. There's no way this isn't low. It's gotta be. All right, we're gonna do throttle open. We're looking for over 100. If we have over 100, this thing will probably fire up. All right, on, throttle open. We have over 100. I mean, it's pretty low, 110. Boy, you should still fire with 110. That is pretty low though. Unless there's a decompression mechanism in there. I don't think there is. We're gonna put a little bit of oil down there and then try this compression test again. I wanna see if the rings are shot here. If compression spikes up to like 150 with oil down the cylinder, we know that the rings are probably bad. We could have a valve issue too, but this oil test should tell us. All right, dump a bunch of that down there. This is a combination of Marble Mystery Oil and a little 10W40. Put quite a bit down there. I want this reading to be pretty accurate. All right, now we're just gonna put our compression tester back in. Try this again. Let's see what we get. I'm guessing it's gonna spike up to like 160. Again, throttle open. Well, I think that might be the problem. Look at that. Jumped up to 50, 60, 70, 80, 185 PSI. So we are low compression. So I'm thinking those rings are just really stuck or really, really worn. Based on the plug, it looks like oil is just seeping past the rings and burning off. So we've got a combination of low oil in the engine telling us that it's burning off oil, and then the plug was just completely carboned up, telling us that it was probably burning a ton of oil. So this thing was probably smoking a ton when it was running. Like, I mean a ton. So, yeah, so far it's looking like top end issues. We can check the valves just to make sure they're not tight. And we're gonna let this thing sit with that oil in there in case it is just like a stuck ring. Usually Marvel Mystery Oil will get that to free up. Let that just soak in there. Loaded that up. Not feeling any wiggle room there. This cap can come off. At least these are pretty easy to get to. Not too bad. And one on the other side. See, there's oil in it. So the top end was getting oil. Pretty dark looking. See if that one has any play in it. You can hear the valve clicking there. So exhaust is definitely not tight. That feels pretty loose. Alright, now we need to get to top dead center. Let's get this vice grips off for now. And we're going to take off the cap here. That's our window onto the flywheel. Alright, and then we're going to take off the cover here. A bolt we can spin to turn over the engine. There it is. Now let's try to find top dead center here. Oh, spit a bunch of that oil out of here. Not seeing anything yet. That's a line right there. Alright, we finally found the mark. You can see there's a T with a line. You line it up with a little groove in the case right there. And that should give us top dead center. Come around to the cylinder and take a look at the piston. And it should be right at the top here. As you can see, it's right there. So we are in fact at top dead center. Woodruff key should not be sheared. And then we can come up here and feel for clearance here. Ooh, that one's pretty tight. Both of these are pretty tight, so we're probably 180 out. We're gonna spin this over again until we hit top dead center. I think we're 180 out. Right there. now we should have clearance by the valves. Yep. And this one, yep, you can hear that one. So exhaust valves need to be adjusted for sure. Intake, they feel pretty good, but we're gonna measure those and just make sure. There's a little gap there. So they weren't tight. I was hoping that the intake would be tight. Unfortunately, that's not the case. All right, valve clearance for the intake is gonna be 2/1000 to 4/1000 of an inch. And then for the exhaust, it's gonna be 6 to 8/1000 of an inch. Let's just quick measure these. We'll check it at 3 for the intake first. See if that slides in. Yep, see it's just scraping here. That is perfect. So, it's hard to show you guys in camera here, but that looks perfect. Then the exhaust, you guys probably won't be able to see. It's way back there, but we'll stick our 7/1000 in there. It kind of feels big to me, but let's see, we might have to adjust them a little bit. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit big. So just gonna loosen this up. Sorry you guys can't see it. Just gonna break that nut free. Oh. Get our feeler gauge in there. And then just tighten that down a little bit. Until it just grabs that feeler gauge. Feels pretty good right there, actually. All right, can tighten that down. Valves are now within spec. All right, next we can take a look at the timing, make sure that's spot on. If the timing's off, it'll obviously spark at the wrong time, won't ignite the gas in the cylinder, and then this machine won't run. So timing's pretty important, so let's check that next. It's gonna be right here. Take off that cap. And it looks like the timing's gonna be spot on too. I was hoping something would be off. But timing, you can see the line here lines up with the arrow right there. And right now we are at top dead center. So that is perfect. So timing's on, the valves are on. We have spark. We have 110 PSI. So this thing should have fired up. Only thing we haven't checked is the carb. So let's see if something's going on with the carb. So something's gotta be going on with this carb. Makes sense, this thing won't run. It's gotta be a plugged up jet or something. That's out. There's one bolt. Get this to come out. All right, breather there. That was clear. That looks like a brand new carb. So we can get our throttle. There's the slide. Let's check that out. Make sure that needle's not bouncing around in there. That looks good. All right, we finally got that to come out. Took a Dremel and just ground down the corners of that, and that pulled through. So it must have been getting caught on a little corner. But all right, carburetor is now out. All right, let's take a peek. It looks pretty clean. The jet there. Yep. Yeah, that's clear. You can see that's clear too. Spraying gas up through here. So accelerator pump should be working. Just take that out right away. Washer was on there. Yeah, I'm not seeing the jet size anywhere. Oh, there it is, 145. It was on the side. So at least we have the jet size now. And that was clear. Alright, here's the fuel screw. Let's see how many turns out it was. So, 1. Looks like exactly 1 turn out on the fuel screw. There's gonna be a little O-ring down there. There we go. With the washer. Alright, that came out. Let's get our float out. There's the pin. No gas in the float. And our needle looks good. Doesn't want to come out. There we go. Maybe the pilot's just really small. Let's take a look. Not seeing any label on here at all. Pilot jet's pretty plugged up. If that's the problem, that is crazy. But there's no size on that at all. It looks really small. Choke kind of feels weird. That looks pretty good. It's not staying put though. Oh, there we go. Just have to pull it harder. There. So choke. Go back in. That looks good. So we're going to blow through every passageway here with compressed air and brake cleaner, and we'll see if that fixes our problem. So far the only problem we see is that the pilot was partially clogged. Alright, carburetor's all back together, looking good. We blew out the pilot jet, so that's all clear now, so hopefully this thing fires right up. We're going to leave the jetting the same because 1 year ago this thing was running good. So there's no reason to change the jetting unless we have issues with it later. So we'll keep an eye on that, but let's reinstall it, see what happens here. Alright, carburetor's back installed. Throttle's working good. So let's get the gas tank back on and attempt to fire this thing up. We've been letting this tank soak overnight with the Marvel Mystery Oil, so hopefully that frees up the rings. If they are stuck, they're plugged back in here. Alright, we're just going to add a little bit of oil to it just because it wasn't showing up on the dipstick. You can see there's nothing on there. So before the first start, we'll add a little bit. Put that on. Check that, see if it at least shows up in the dipstick. Nothing. No way. I'm not getting anything to show up on the dipstick. So we're just gonna dump in the rest of the quart here. Well, that's not good. It was really low on oil. Alright, let's check that. Yeah, nothing on the dipstick still. That's crazy. Nothing. What the heck? Alright, that's 1.5 quarts we added. Has to show up now. Let's see. Yep, right halfway between the two lines. That looks good. Yep, there we go. Alright, let's see if this thing fires up. We know we have good spark. We have decent compression. It's like 110 psi. Plus we put oil down there, so that should spike it up for the first initial run. We know that the carburetor is cleaned out and it's getting gas. We know timing is spot on. Valves are spot on. So, I mean, if this thing doesn't fire up, I'd be really surprised. So let's see what happens. Go. Choke it. smoking a ton right now, but I put a ton of oil down the cylinder, so we'll see if it clears up. She's pretty smoky. Thing is still smoking a ton. It's not clearing up at all. I can tell you that right now. Just smoking a ton. So that explains a lot. That explains why I was really low on oil. I'm still hoping it clears up just a little bit more. I don't think it's going to though. Seller never mentioned anything about smoke, so I don't know. Seems a little fishy. Well, at least she fired up, but it's smoking a ton. So we're gonna try to get rid of that smoke by driving it around. But before we do that, we've got to get the shifter on. There was a vice grip on there. It came with this as well. So this was at one point on there just like that. You can see it was welded multiple times. Another bolt was put in there to try to tighten that up, and must have been failing. So we're just gonna tack weld that there, and hopefully that'll work for us. All right, we got all the old welds off of that. Looking pretty good. Cleaned it up, and now we can try to fit this on the shaft here. All right, that goes right on there. So right about there is probably where we need to tack it. So we're just gonna go tack it right to that post and go all the way around. The splines are all stripped off of everything, so the only way to make this work is either to drill a hole all the way through that shaft and bolt it down that way, or weld it on. And welding it on is probably the easiest way. I think that'll be strong enough. See if it shifts. Yeah. I think that'll work. There we go. Still smoking. All right, so first ride went pretty good. You know, it shifts into reverse, low and high, shifts through all the gears. 4x4 is working, runs pretty good, but it is smoking a ton and it's not stopping. So that's why that oil was low in the engine, and that's why it was low compression. I think these rings are just completely worn out. So we're gonna do another compression test here quick and then start tearing this thing down, and we'll see what the heck happened to the top end. Not good. I'm very interested to see if this compression went up at all. Let's see if that stayed clean. I bet you there's a bunch of carbon on it again. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, look at all the carbon on that plug. Oh, I just cleaned it. It's like building up carbon like crazy. All right, throttle open. See what happens here. About 130. So it went up a little bit. But yeah, it's still smoking a ton. So really the only thing we can do now is tear down the top end and see what's going on. So just like that. All right, went ahead and took the pipe off, carburetor off. Let's get the head off next. Hopefully we can. Oh, God. Oh. That one does not want to come off. Okay. This one does not want to come though. That might break. And coming over to the cam sprocket here, we're gonna loosen that guy up. Alright, I'm just going to leave this hand tight in until we get the cam chain off here. Alright. Cam chain felt pretty tight, so tensioner should be fine. Alright. Yeah, tensioner feels good. Cam sprocket out. Sometimes these are a little tricky. Yeah, looks like it's a little bit stuck. Let's see. You don't want to drop that pin down either. Okay. Now, hold on to the chain. We're going to tie this one off. just so that we can pull it up if we have to later on. We should be able to move that head up. Let's see, this is the moment of truth. We have to take off the whole engine or not. Is there enough clearance here? Not a whole lot. I don't know. I think we don't have enough room. It's gonna be close. Really close. They make it so tight on these. I don't know why they do that. If I go out through here, can I pull that out through here? Possibly. Oh yeah. Cam chain guide can come out, and then I should be good. I think I can get it the rest of the way. There we go. Here, got our head gasket. It's in there. She looks a little rough. Side of it. Oop, and the chain fell down. Arrows pointing towards the exhaust side, that looks good. Lots of carbon on the top. Rings are all free. Huh, thought for sure they'd be stuck. They must just be really, really worn out. There's not a lot of blow-by on that side. Huh. It doesn't look horrible. Pins out. Alright, that's sliding right out. Cool. Alright. This is Yamaha piston on there, so that might be the original piston. Huh. Nope, rod bearing feels good. Very slight side to side. No up and down play. Yeah, it looks really good in there. Piston looks pretty clean too. That might have been because of the Marvel Mystery Oil I put in there. Alright, here's the cylinder. Just quick clean that out. See what that looks like. Not a single scratch on that cylinder there. Look how nice that looks. You cannot see any cross hatches though, so it hasn't been honed recently. I know that. Alright. Let's see why this was smoking. Get the rings off. See if the rings were in the correct way. I don't see any markings on the ring at all. Let's see about the bottom ring. Oh, yep, that one was incorrectly. You can see an R right there. I can't see one on the top ring though. Kind of weird. Alright, well, let's see what we get for a ring gap. Well, that would be the reason for the smoking. Check out that gap. It's massive. Let's see how many feeler gauges can fit in that gap. Oh. about that much. So let's add these up. This is about 110 thousandths of an inch. And it should be 14. So yeah, she was a little big. The second ring looks even worse. Let's see. Oh, nope, that's a little bit better. But still a huge gap. So 14 thousandths I'll go to. I'll show you guys the difference between that and the gap here. You could probably fit 5 of those in there. This is what it should be. So we found out the reason for the smoking. That would explain it. Yeah, look at the second ring. Holy cow, look at that. Oh, look how worn down that is. Wow. Because the piston doesn't really look that bad. It's just the 2 rings got worn down, which eventually will happen over time. It can't last forever. All right, here's the head. You can see all the carbon on the valves there. Wow. That's crazy. So this is gonna need some valve seals too. So we'll change those out when we rebuild this thing. This one turned out to be a little bit more work than I expected. I was hoping we could just get this thing running and driving and it'd be good to go today, but unfortunately it was smoking a ton and the top end needed to be torn apart and this thing needs to be rebuilt, which isn't a big deal. This top end maybe took me 20 minutes to get apart. One of the easiest top ends to take off and probably reinstall as well. Lots of room to work in there. And really all we need is a new piston. And then we can hone this thing out, get some new valve seals, and we're good to go. And we should be good for another 20 years. But hopefully you guys enjoyed picking up the 1989 Yamaha Big Bear 350 4x4, diagnosing it, hearing it start up for the first time, taking it for the first ride, and then tearing it all down. Unfortunately, we didn't get lucky on this one, but maybe we will on the next one. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.